Okay, guys, this is about the Anaconda installation recording. So now when you go to anaconda.com, you can go to the downloads folders. You have Windows, Mac, and Linux installers. Don't do this on Apple iPad or Android tablets or anything. There's no installer for that. You need good CPU, GPU, or TPU called Tensor Processing Unit, Graphical Processing Unit, or Central Processing Unit (CPUs) to be able to run this. So it's free to use. There's nothing to be paid here. So you can download this. In the interest of time, Bob has already downloaded it. So I'll go to the start menu, type Anaconda. You don't have to run it as an administrator. You can just run it as a local user. Uh, so the installer starts and click next. I agree. Just me, not for all users. And here, try to install it without any space between the two names. That way installation will be very fine. Like for example, C/Anaconda 3. Um, so you can optionally check this select box so that you can run conda commands from any path on the command prompt. And then let's install it. It's going to take some time to be completing this because the size of this is over 4 gigabit or 5 gigabit, I believe. So it's going to take a while to copy all of that. So you see in C Anaconda, it started copying here. Now, yes, I was explaining Bob like why it's an issue with the space. So this time I'll try to make it better. So let me open the command prompt. So let's do this on C Bob, mkdir test. Okay, let's go to test folder. So if I do a test folder and do dir, you see there is a test folder that got created. Now imagine if I'm running a command mkdir mkdir test space hi. What will happen in this command? Um, the command will think that, okay, I need to create mkdir test folder. Because of the space, it thinks hi is another command on the execution on the terminal. So for example, then it will throw me an error that it does not understand this, what you're trying to do. See, a subdirectory already exists, which is already created called mkdirectory test, and then it does not understand hi. So it says error occurred while processing test. So if you don't put space and say mkdir test hi without space, it considers that as a folder name and it creates the folder name. And then if you see the directory, you will have a directory called test and test hi. So every space that you put as Bob space ake in the execution, it does not know whether it is as full as one path or are you breaking till C users Bob, and after that it thinks it's another command. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yep. Makes
Okay,
sense.
so that's why you should never have a space in the softwares there. That's why they fail. Okay, let's check once.
That comes when you are first setting up your laptop. Let's say you want to get
Correct,
your environment.
correct.
Yeah. So
That's
when
right.
you avoid the space, please.
Yes. Okay, I am just helping people on the other side as this installation completes. Let's just give some more time for this installer to finish. Let me check one thing as this installer runs. The space on this Anaconda folder. Okay, so it's increasing, which is a good sign. That means the packages are installing. You see, it's clearly 5.46 gigabit, and it's a lot. Yeah, nearly 5.5 and a half gigabit of size.
It's a long time, huh?
Okay, so yeah, Anaconda takes a bit of while. A lot of patience is needed. By the way, if this takes like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, or even more, don't be worried that maybe the program is blocked or anything. So it's going to take a while to run. So let it run at its own pace. Okay, I'll pause the recording here just until I finish it. Okay, just resuming the recording here. So installation is complete. So I will click next and next. So launch the Anaconda Navigator, getting started. I don't need both of them at this moment. So I will stop. So the Anaconda installation is done in my path like C Anaconda 3. You see all the files that came up here, which is good. So I need this most important called anaconda.txt. Anyway, so let's close this. Let's close this. It came to a good size. So now go to the start. So now the installation is completed. We need to configure. So let's go to the start and type Anaconda. So when you type Anaconda now, after you, because you install it, you get this Anaconda Navigator, Anaconda Prompt, Anaconda PowerShell. You get these three important things. PowerShell is a built-in Windows one originally, but now PowerShell also exists for Linux and Mac. It's cross-platform. It's a scripting command line. So if you are familiar with PowerShell, the commands, just say, for example, git command. Let's do this. Yes. So you see the word PS. Every time there is a word PS, it's called PowerShell. So for example, you can say get help and do tab. It'll finish up to get help like this, and you will see a help section on various things. These are PowerShell commands. If you're familiar with PowerShell, you can do it on PowerShell. Otherwise, if you're not familiar, you can come back to Anaconda. Anaconda Navigator is a GUI, the graphical interface to select and everything. But because we are more developers, my first to start with, I'll always start with Anaconda prompt. This is exactly like the Windows DOS, the prompt, but not a PowerShell. Now you don't have PS, you see there. There's no PowerShell. It's the basic default Windows prompt, the command prompt style. There is something called base. If you type CMD, which is the default Windows command prompt, you will see, oops, let me minimize this to make it more easy to understand. Here, you will see the same C users Bob Ake, and there is a base here in the Anaconda prompt. This is Windows command prompt, and this is Anaconda command prompt. In the Windows, it's normal commands that you run like dir to know the directory structures. You can do the same even on the Anaconda prompt as well, but you are in a virtual environment of Python called base. Anaconda gives you the Python installation by default, whatever you need, and it's the base version. So if you're doing, for example, PhD and you want to do all the homeworks in certain environment, you can create a virtual environment using Conda, create a new environment called -u, and name I want to give it like CIS8416. It's an environment I want to create, a virtual environment. So I'm creating it. Oops. Okay, so conda is not recognized. So I need to add it to a path variable. So because I installed conda in specific path, let me go there. See Anaconda 3. So yes. So here I have the conda Python setups and everything that are run from here. So I will select this path, the C Anaconda space, and I will go into environment variables. It's type env at the bottom. Automatically on the start, you will see edit the system environment variables. For example, if I remember, one of our classmates in PhD was asking this: how do I set software into environment variables? So, okay, oops, I don't know what you do. Okay, so when you just again go to the start menu, let me close. I hate this that I don't have permission to your system properties. Can you cancel that again, Bob?
Cancel.
Yeah, cancel the system properties on the background.
Oh, okay.
On the back, yes, close that. So on the command prompt, type environment variables and press enter. No, press environment variable button at the bottom.
Oh, okay. The variable window add
Yes. Now,
new.
at the bottom, there are two sections on the top and the bottom. Top one says user variables for Bob Ake specific ones, and the bottom are system variables applicable to every person on the laptop. So because we have installed Anaconda specific to Bob, select the variable called path. Just highlight that path and now click edit button below that. Yes. Now click new on the right side. Oh, see Anaconda is already there. So see Anaconda is there. So this means I'll have to, oh, see the Anaconda is already here. So which means we have to reboot the PC here.
We have to
Okay.
reboot the PC.
Yeah, looks like, but I will try without rebooting. Let's see. Let's click cancel because we installed the software. We might have to reboot it. Let me close this. Let me close this again. Click on cancel of the system properties as well. Yeah, let me cancel this. Let me go to oh, man, Anaconda prompt, open. Okay, now Conda works. So weird. Earlier it didn't work. Okay, Conda create hyphen n. Let's call it Cs8416. So we'll create a new environment here from the base version. So it started creating a new virtual environment. You can call it. It's asking, shall I proceed? Yes and no. I say yes and continue. So now it's going to download certain packages. When you create a new environment for Anaconda, you have to do this only one time. You create it, and then now you can activate it. Conda activate sees 8416. Now we are going into the virtual environment by activating it. So it's giving you the command to activate this, type this conda activate, to deactivate, just conda deactivate. So now you see the base has changed to cease environment. Now this is where I am. By default, this environment that we newly created has got only Python. So we need to install pandas library, a numpy library, whatever you want. So you can start typing pip install pandas because that's what our professor is expecting. So like for example, pip install pandas. I hope it works here. So requirement already satisfied. That means this environment has got pandas, which is good. Your computer has already got pandas. So let me say pip install numpy. This is got numpy as well. Okay, so requirement already satisfied. That means numpy is also available for you. Let me say pip install Jupyter. No, I messed up the spelling. Jupyter. Pip install Jupyter. Okay, so this is also installed. Oh no, some are being downloaded. So let's see. All good. So now because we have Jupyter, let's just type Jupyter Lab. So if I type a Jupyter Lab, now it starts a server locally on a particular port and it opens up the browser automatically for you every time you do this. So let's finish this. It'll start a server and you see it opens up a browser automatically and it goes into localhost on port 8080, 8888. There is a lab that's running. So let's just see. It'll get started. Now you have the fancy entire Google Colab, whatever you call it, or Visual Studio Code automatically on your local host now as a web-based application now. Click on new notebook every time you come here. So a new untitled IPYNB file is ready. So you can click and say probably rename must be there somewhere here. Yeah, rename notebook. Just for our homeworks, we can say AK, the last name, and say C's 8416 assignment 2 dot IPYNB. you can rename this file. And this is there in the same path on the drive wherever you're running the Jupyter Lab. So let me come back here and just say, in just to test, let me say print hello world. So I just type Python, print hello world, and I execute it with control enter. See, the Python is working here. Or if I say import pandas as PD, just enter. So it's good. It's running. That means there is no error. Pandas is there. Let me do numpy as NP. Yes, it executed. That means these packages are already there. It's all good. I will just do a file, save notebook, close this and close this and just do Control C to stop the server. When I click this, Control C. Okay, come on, execute it, man. Yes, now it came. Now I can do conda deactivate to come back to the base version from C's and again run conda deactivate to go back to the Windows command prompt. Now there is no Anaconda prompt, it's the default Windows prompt. Type exit and go. So tomorrow you restarted your PC and it's a fresh PC. So again you can come to the start menu. So the way you always start is go to Anaconda prompt all the time. So go to Anaconda prompt, and what you have to do now, because your environment is always there, conda activate cease 8416. Always you do conda activate cease 8416 and press ready. So you move into the then type Jupyter Lab. That's it, Jupyter space lab. So only two commands. Every day you open and you want to work on a homework, type conda activate the environment and then come to the Jupyter space lab, press enter, and your lab will be automatically opened and ready. You're going into the lab now. So it starts a server locally and it opens up the browser and automatically, and it will see that the lab is ready. So because we opened it from this path, by default, the AKE, the file that we earlier created is already there. You can start working on this completely locally. So you can write whatever you want. Now, whenever you want to make a markdown file, you select that one. You have the option. Do you want to run it as a code? You want to run it as a markdown or raw? So, for example, a markdown file. Markdown file is like for text. This is task one for my homework. So, okay, you paste the one, and that will run like a markdown file. You see, as I do a mouse down, you can do a click, or when you click on the previous one, you have these two things: a cell, sorry, a row above this, a row below this. You can click on any of those. So, for example, if I click row below, it will create one more row below. Um, or as you mouse over, there will be a nice icon saying click to add a cell. I can do any number of cells like that. If I don't want, select that, click here and click delete, that cell is gone. Click here, click delete, that cell is gone. Now this one is a code. That's why you say print Bob, and you print, it prints it out. Okay, this is a code. Now you want to change this to a markdown file. A markdown is a text, so it just remains as text. It's not code that is executing, so it's a text just for documentation purpose. So again, you can select that. Oops, come on, man. Yeah, you select that and go back to code. Now it's a Python code. Now it's running and executing as Bob. So you can have any number of cells. So what is the advantage of running everything locally when I already have Google Colab, or when I have VS Code? VS Code is another option. You can do it. The advantage is, so for example, on the terminal, so not this one, on the Anaconda prompt, you see, you will see actually what's happening on the server side. Okay, let me expand this like this. Let me go up. Um, you see, saving the file ake. This one, it's saving it every time. Now you make a change here. Like for example, you say save notebook. Go back to the prompt. You will see file being saved like this. You'll exactly know what's happening on the server side. If you're using Google Colab, you are like a user of the Google Colab, but you don't know you don't have access to the log files. You don't know what's happening on the back end, but you're running here everything locally. So if something crashed happen, or in everything is local, your privacy, everything is taken care of. Nobody knows what kind of code you're writing. It's completely local. So that's how you take advantages. Do you have any
So
question, Bob, here?
I do. So let's say, okay, let's close everything again. And
Okay.
let's say we want to do, okay, let's say we come and let's exit out of there.
So let's just say Control C. So you got to do it
Control
like
C.
one or two
Yeah.
times. This is crazy. Yes, it interrupted and it stopped. I do conda deactivate. So because I'm on the C's 8416 environment, I type conda deactivate and it deactivates, come back to base. I have to run again so that it also deactivates from the base environment and come back to the Windows terminal. Type exit or close on the X prompt there. Everything is okay. I'm just doing a proper way of closing it. So
Okay, so
to
now where can we see what the base, like let's say if we want to do it manually in a way, like
okay.
where do we
So
go?
that's the Python environment. See, we installed here normally in the environments. You see the 8416 folder that we just created. This is here. So that's the virtual environment that we created. Base is default that you will not see, which is part of the computer. Everything that you do on the base will impact the entire laptop, everybody. If you create a virtual environment called sys8416 and do anything, all of them are specific to this folder only, everything that you do.
Okay, sounds good. So let's say we want to start homework three, and you come,
Mm.
you open. So how do
Yep.
you go about again?
See,
Let's see
so
now it's
let's just say here, come to type ANA or something Anaconda on the top. You'll filter to Anaconda prompt. Just open it, and by default again it will come to base one. Type conda activate C's 8416 environment because I need to go into that environment to do my homeworks. I will activate that again. Now it's here. I need Jupyter lab to I need to go into the lab to do the homework. So I just say Jupyter space lab. That's it. Just type Jupyter Lab. It opens up the browser and it starts your homework. That's it. And if you want a new notebook, see, you are running this from a specific path called C users Bob Ake, and that's the folder that is showing here. You can also browse to specific like documents, Anaconda 3, and or any other folder, and you can start typing a new notebook there. Or here I can click a new notebook and I can name this, like for example, rename notebook, and I say new notebook by Wiz. I just put like this and I rename it. So when you rename, oops, I lost my permission. No. So yeah, when you rename that file, so go to the Explorer, go to the documents, go to Anaconda 3, you see the notebook file, new notebook YVs is placed in that folder. So wherever you want it, you can go into that folder or you go back to that folder, go back the level, whatever level you want, and just work there. So it's easy. You can put the file anywhere you want. Now, another interesting point about Anaconda is you see the little dot near the file
mm-hmm.
that's called Python kernels. Anaconda, this web-based application called Jupyter Lab and the Anaconda setup is not only for Python. You can work with many programming languages, and they are called kernels. Here I see the small dot implies this notebook is executing in the memory. So when I close this after saving it, it is still executing. So right click and shut down kernel will actually stop the dot. You see, now the dot is gone. So it's a good practice to shut down kernel properly and then close and then close. Otherwise, this notebook will be there in the memory all the time, and your laptop will lose performance over time. So when I double click this and open, so again there is a dot now, which means it is telling you it's running in the memory as a kernel. So this notebook is active, it's running. So if I type print hello, it will print, the code is running. I go to file, save notebook, I close it. That does not mean it's stopped from the memory, it's still there. So I can double click and still open and it will still work as I run. So the best way to close, again, save it, close it, right click, shut down kernel. You have to do that so that the dot is gone, then you close it. If you have like homework 1, homework 2, homework 3, multiple notebook files, if you want to reference notebook one, for example, I opened this, I went into earlier document, and earlier we were writing this file, right? If I also double click that, See, there is a dot again coming here. So imagine by mistake I closed the earlier one because I don't need it. But that one in the documents, it will still keep running. It will never close in the memory. So properly shut down kernel, so your system performance will be good. Come back to the original one, which is running, and there you can do the tasks, whatever. So every time you finish with the homework, make sure you're properly closing the memory because you're running everything on the local host, which means local computer. Host is your PC. You're running everything on your local computer. That's why you need to take care of these small memory things. So make sure you shut down the kernel, close it, or close it, shut down kernel, either way, and then stop. Okay, all
Mhm.
good.
Yep, it's good.
That's it. So let me close this. The untitled one always have that. So shut down kernel and then close this. Come back here, press a few times, Control C, and then it says interrupted and stop. Honda deactivate. Enter. Enter, and I will press the upper arrow key, so I will get that same command again because I need to deactivate the base. And I go into the. I completely deactivated Anaconda now. I'm in the default Windows command prompt now. I just type exit and come out. That's it.